Greetings, creatives. Welcome to CreativeSpeak Live, a cultural seminar that amplifies creatives of color. I am Bobby J, founder and chief creative of the Creatives Everywhere Collective. We are a creative arts agency supporting and promoting a creatives of color community. Thanks for being here. As we get started, let me remind you to, 1, mute your microphones. 2, at any time, send your questions by way of chat. And 3, just be reminded that the event is being recorded. It is quoted that there are roads out of the secret place within us, which we must all move as we go to touch others. Maybe you've had the good fortune of being touched by the spirit and music of Sherry Winston. If not, get to know it. It exudes beauty, love, and peace. Music shouldn't be just a tune. It should be a touch, says Amit Kalantri. Sherry Winston is a legend. She is an international artist and icon. She has had a protracted and illustrious career as a phenomenal musician, composer, and entrepreneurial force, handling her own business. And you may not know this, but she has published a cookbook. Sherry Winston's credits and accomplishments are too lengthy to enumerate in this short introduction. But how about a first impression? I first heard and saw Sherry in Hartford, Connecticut about 20 years ago. I was enamored by her sophisticated, smooth, and rhythmic jazz sound and her humanity. When she left the stage, she went from table to table to engage with her audience. She is not only a wonderful musician, she's an incredible human being. On the other side of a short video clip I'll play, you will hear from and meet Miss Sherry Winston.
Good morning, good afternoon, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and all of that good stuff. How are you doing today?
I am fabulous. I'm so happy to have you here with us, and for our audience, the creatives of color. We are an international group, and we are certainly looking to hear the wisdom. Sorry about the technical issues, but I think we're beyond them right now.
Well, you've got me and we've got you, so we're all good.
Okay, I'm going to disappear and let you do your speaking.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm really happy to be here and hopefully share some insights with you about being an artist. And that could be a visual artist, it could be a recording artist, a performing artist, anything that you can imagine to do with the arts, whether it's making jewelry or painting or sculpting. I guess we're all in this boat together. And I guess the best thing that I could say is that you have to be disciplined. You've got to set a course for yourself of what you'd like to do pretty much on a daily basis. You've got to know what time you're going to get up every day. You've got to know what is lying ahead, what things you have planned for yourself. What do you want to accomplish in a day? And then you have to stick to that plan, which is really very hard. I make a plan for myself every day that I'm in my office, which is usually 5 days a week, unless I'm traveling, that I'm going to get out and work out. And that means either going to the Y to swim, do yoga, or work out on various exercise machines and the treadmill, et cetera, come home, have breakfast, and then sit at my desk and start calling clients, prospective clients, people that I've worked with before. And that's probably the hardest thing, doing stuff on a daily basis. Every day that you decide you're going to work, every day of the week, whether it's 4 days, 3 days, 5 days, and sticking to that plan. I'm at my desk pretty much all day long. I'll get up and have something downstairs, a piece of fruit, something to drink, and come back and start all over again. After my business day, I'll usually prep dinner and then start to practice. And that's practicing my craft. I'm a jazz flutist, so it means practicing some of the things that I learned at Howard University, which would be playing the masters, whether it's Bach sonatas or Mozart concertos, things to get my fingers going. And then I'll play along with my own CDs using a technology called TV tracks, which is when you're in the recording process, at the very end, when the engineer is mixing the entire project, you take your personal part out. That would be the flute part in my case. And what's left is known as a track. And that track you can practice too. You can also use it for an informal gathering. If you're going to be playing for people, you can use it in an international venue where you can't really bring your band, where the client perhaps can't afford to bring everybody in, so he can just bring you in, and you don't even have to have a backup band. So for myself personally, I always love to play with my band because you get that personal interaction with other musicians, and they really inspire me. You know, when I hear other people play, when I see the expressions on their face. My bass player, when he starts smiling and he's getting into the music, it just makes me really want to play more. The same thing with my keyboard player and drummer. And when you're playing with a band, you really have to feature other people and give them their due, allow the audience to hear their talent. It's not always just about you. So I make sure that my band members always, at least in 3 or 4 songs, get a personal solo. And then I'll pick people sometimes just spontaneously because they're playing so well to do something unexpectedly, to perform, to go out into the audience, to interact with the audience with me, which is always a lot of fun. So the other thing that I can tell you is just not giving up on your dream. That is such an easy thing to do. When I was a little girl, I thought I might be a ballet dancer. I took ballet for years. I took horseback riding lessons and thought I might be an equestrian. And all of these things were actually forming me to be the person that I am today. And you don't realize the influence of other people that you meet, putting yourself in situations that might not be familiar to you. Me showing a horse in a horse ring was not a natural thing for me to do, considering the community that I came from. But it just gave me an air of confidence when I won a blue ribbon. It was just so unbelievable to me as a person of color to be able to do that. And that spurred me on to want to, a few years later, take scuba diving and try mountain climbing and mountain biking and kayaking and all sorts of things. And all of these sports sort of give you a balance to yourself as a creative person. You need a balance. You can't just have 24/7 of you pursuing your craft. You'll become a very unbalanced person. And you always want to think about yourself as a total human being. So you're thinking about what you like to do physically, which is important. The physicality of working out or doing some sort of sport brings endorphins into your body, and it sort of wakes up your brain. For me, any kind of negative thoughts or depression that I might have sort of fades away with the endorphins that I get from working out. When you come off a treadmill and you're sweating and you're you're just glowing, you're feeling your entire body working out. And sometimes you have little aches and pains here and there, and you overcome them and you keep going. It gives you a sense of accomplishment. And after I take my shower, I just feel like a totally different human being. So make sure you balance out your day doing other things, even if it's just taking a 20 to 30-minute walk, a brisk walk, to get your heart going, to get your blood pumping through your veins. And also another aspect is trying to include friends in your life, making friends, opening yourself up to friends. I belong to a few golf leagues, and that's very important for me during the summer in terms of meeting friends, going to parties or dinner parties, or just going to the movies with different people that I've met. Always maintaining a social contact with other people is really, really important. It just gives you a balance in your life. And getting back to being an artist, find several people in your life that believe in you, whether they're relatives or close friends, that when you feel down and out, and that will come to you every now and then, you'll just feel like, oh gosh, I'm not making any progress in my career. Maybe I should change careers. Maybe I should give this up. And I think we've all been through that. When I was first starting out, I sent out my music, 3 or 4 songs. The time they used to call it a demo record. And I would send that out to record companies. And I remember getting 26 rejection letters. And the first letter, honestly, I really wanted to cry. I kind of weeped up a little bit and felt sorry for myself. And by about the 4th or 5th letter of rejection, I thought to myself, you know what? These people don't know what they're talking about. I'm a great artist. And you have to kind of pump yourself up. And at the time, my mom was alive, my dad was alive, and they always told me how fabulous I was. They came to my shows, they boosted me. And what are you talking about? Of course, you got to keep going. You know, what do you need? We'll help you, you know, financially or anything that you might need to keep you going. You've got to do this. You need people in your life like that will just buoy you up when you're not feeling that you can do whatever it is that you want to do creatively. And luckily, I've had people like that in my life. And when you finally get on stage and the audience connects with you, and that's not always a natural thing. Sometimes it takes years to understand how to talk to people on stage, how to engage the audience. But when you finally make that connection, oh my goodness, it's just like more endorphins coming into your body. You just feel so buoyed up. And it just keeps you wanting to practice more, to learn your craft more, to learn new things, to try to get to the next level in your performance, whatever that happens to be. So I've been very fortunate that even in the beginning of my life, when I was getting a lot of rejection, I was able to perform, whether it was in just a little small club in a neighborhood in New York City. I was always able to find something. I didn't always make a lot of money doing that. And I had a 9-to-5 job at the time. I was working for different record companies. I've worked for Electra Asylum Records in New York, for Columbia Records, smaller record companies. I've done independent promotion for record companies. And that sort of gave me a balance of the business side of the industry, which you really have to study. There are so many books on the business of music, and you have to get an idea of what it's like to have a budget for your band. What do you pay your musicians? What do other people or other musicians in the area get? What is the going rate? What should you be paid as an artist if you're doing a dinner or a reception or you're playing in a club? You've got to talk to other musicians. Do not feel afraid to talk to other people about your craft. If you're a dancer, what do other dancers make? What is the norm for your particular field? And once you get an idea of that, if you start winning awards, if you start building more bigger audiences, it sort of gives you a good feeling about what you're worth as an artist. And maybe your fees start to go up at that point. You can't start out asking for the world, but eventually you can financially. And you have to really work with people, because you might have not-for-profits that would like to bring you on as an artist for their not-for-profit event. And you can't always accept the first amount of money that they offer you, but you can negotiate with them and find a fair middle, what they can afford and what you can afford to live on. And you have to remember that you always have to live if you're going to do this on a full-time basis, whatever your craft is. So all of these things have come to me a little at a time, and I've sort of built up an arsenal of being an entrepreneur and being a business owner and understanding my musicians. Speaking of knowing musicians, it's important to have people around you that are positive. I haven't always had band members playing with me that were in my corner. They didn't necessarily want me to succeed. And they would say snide little remarks to me that would really hurt my feelings, whether it's, oh, girl, you can't play. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know the chord changes. You don't know this. You don't know that. And I would take it to heart and really feel bad about it. And then I realized, wait a second, who's writing the check here? Am I writing this person a check at the end of the night, or are they writing me a check? When you realize that you're in charge, you're the person that's making the opportunity for these musicians, then you start to get a backbone and you say, you know what, I've got to get rid of this negative influence in my band. There's always someone else. So you start to build your musical Rolodex. And in my Rolodex, I've got pianist, I've got drummers, I've got conga players, I've got guitarists. Every instrument you can think that might work well in my band, and multiple layers of artists that can come and play my gig. And what I have on these old-fashioned Rolodex cards, you can use your computer, your phone, however you want to keep a record of things. I like to be able to look at a card and look at the notes that I have down. Number one, is this person on time? Do they follow your instructions? Do they come dressed to the event, to the concert, to the gig, to the dinner properly? If you ask them to wear a suit and tie, do they show up in shorts or jeans and a raggedy looking top, you know, where you have to kind of hide them on the stage because it's embarrassing? So those people, you really have to pardon them out of your band. You know, you don't have to get nasty about it, but you just have to realize, look, they are representing me and my name, and the music has to be right. If someone comes on stage with you and they really haven't bothered to learn your music, that's a good time for them to exit. So I've been put in so many spots where I'm playing in another city, for an example, in Nashville. And prior to the concert that I was doing, I had hired, at someone's suggestion, a bass player, keyboard player, and a drummer. And when I got there, most of the musicians had not bothered to learn my music. So it was like a cat fight on stage. It was just awful. I would call a song. They had a set list ahead of time, so they knew the songs that we were going to be playing. Say it's 10 songs. They had the PDF files of the physical music that they could print out on their computer. They had MP3 files so they could hear what the music sounds like and play along with it with the PDF files. They had all the tools they needed. So when they decided they weren't going to be bothered to learn the music, that's how they came to the concert, totally unprepared. So when we played that first song, and I heard the Clash on stage, it was like, oh God, please help me, because I knew this was not going to be a good situation. So it was embarrassing for me as an artist because I wanted a perfect presentation. But sometimes you have to realize that the artist, or the audience, I should say, does not 100% know what you're doing. And sometimes they just appreciate whatever it is that you offer them. So you have to kind of work with whatever you have at the moment. which I did. I tried to get through that, but it was one of the hardest engagements I've ever had to play because it wasn't a dinner or a reception where people were eating and drinking and doing other things. People were sitting there watching me intently, listening. And when I heard this mess that was happening up on stage, it was really hard to tolerate. But here's where your Rolodex cards come in, because you have the name of that person, you have their phone number, you have what instrument they play, and you make notes. Never call this person again in life. And then you put down the offense. They weren't dressed properly. They didn't come on time. They didn't know the music. That's enough to tell you if 4 or 5 years later, you've forgotten about this musician. And you just keep building up your arsenal of people that will support you on stage. And fortunately, I have beautiful people working with me now, talented. When I ask them to learn a song, they learn it, they come totally prepared. And it's just a blessing to get on stage, to feel relaxed, because you know the people that you're working with are going to be prepared. They're going to represent you and your product, which is your music, properly. So now I really look forward to all of my performances. And if one of my musicians has a conflict, if they have to do something else on that particular day, I have a bevy of other musicians that I can call. And then sometimes you have to be creative. I had a situation with a client in New York City that called me sort of, I guess, the week before. And all of my keyboard players they were busy. They were doing other things. So I had to tell the client, I am so sorry, I cannot do my normal presentation, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play with my bass player. We're going to play the tracks. It'll just be the two of us on stage, but I guarantee you will love everything. And I really had to think out of the box. And that's what I'm suggesting you do. Just roll with the punches, try to think creatively of what spot you're in, and then go for it. You can do this. So I think we're going to open up this conversation for your questions. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much for sharing that message, Sherry. I really enjoyed everything that you had to say. So I had a few questions, just wanted to ask to kind of elaborate on what you were talking about. For me, something that I struggle with as a creative is imposter syndrome. So I wanted to know, at your stage in your career, do you still deal with that? And if you do, how do you manage it?
Well, that happens to all of us. All of us are a bit insecure from time to time, and sometimes all the time, right before you go on stage, there's this negative little voice telling you, girl, you can't do this. What are you getting up there for? Nobody wants to hear you. And you've got to try to tune that out. You've got to fill that space in your head with something positive. And that's not always the easiest thing to do. You have to work with yourself, which is hard. But in yoga, you learn something called square breathing, which is you take a breath in, you hold that for 4 counts, you let it out, and you hold that for 4 counts, and you keep going back and forth. And you just use that space to try to clean out that negativity. And, you can talk to yourself and just say, why are you having that thought? That's ridiculous. People love you, or people enjoy your music. You got this, girl. Go on, go get on that stage and do that. Stop this nonsense. And just know that you yourself have to stop that thought. And I think it's natural for all of us as artists. I remember the first song that I wrote that I brought to my band members, and I was like a meek little mouse. I brought this song in and I said, you know what? I don't know if this song is horrible, if it's good, what it is. I was just so insecure about letting them hear this song that I wrote. And I finally, very meekly said, this is the Roach song, which is funny. And it's a song that inspired me when I found a roach. This was years ago when I lived in New York City. I found a roach in my apartment. It was like, oh my God, this roach, and I was freaked out about bugs. So anyway, I played on the flute, and then I kind of sang the melody to my band members. And they said, wow, that's kind of funky. I like that. Come on, let's get into it. And once we got into the song, I said, wow, this is pretty cool. And that encouraged me to go on and write more. So I don't think you ever lose that little person inside of your head that's telling you something negative. And sometimes you wake up in the morning and you have it, and it's like, oh God, I'm never going to do this. And I'm never going to succeed, as a musician, as a singer, as an artist. But just learn how to tune that out and fill it with, what God loves me. God is great. Whatever it is that you need to say to help yourself out, and call a friend if you need to.
Yeah.
So
thank you so much for that insightful answer. I'm so sorry. I forgot to introduce myself before I went into my question. I was just so eager to ask you. So my name is Francine Darby. I am a Jamaican writer and master's student, but I'm actually studying in Vienna, Austria at the moment.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That is wonderful.
Thank you. I've been here for 3 months. It's been quite the adjustment. I recently joined the team at Creatives Everywhere Collective. I'm the team lead for content creation. It's been really good so far. So I had some other questions for you, if that's all right.
And by the way, before you go into your question, I just want to say what a brave soul you are to go into a totally different culture and present yourself as an artist. I mean, I've been skiing in Austria, and I know those are not the most open, welcoming people in the world. I had people walk on top of my skis and push me aside and all kinds of stuff. So good for you, girl. You go on with your bad self.
Thank you. I think in Vienna, it's a bit more, I know in like the mountain parts of Austria, it's a bit more homogenous. Here in Vienna, it's kind of a bit more of a cosmopolitan city. So it's been really good so far, but thank you for that. It's been an adjustment, but I think I'm doing pretty well so far.
Wow. Can you tell me how you arranged that? How did you get to Vienna, and why did you pick Vienna?
Sure. So I really had been wanting a change of environment. So I had been wanting to leave Jamaica for a while. Last year, I was actually trying to do my master's in Dublin. That didn't end up working out. So I needed a plan B. I applied for a scholarship and I didn't get it. I was heartbroken and I just had to figure out a plan B. So I was looking for other scholarships or for countries that had really affordable tuition. And then I found both Germany and Austria have really affordable tuition for master's degrees. So I just leapt on that. I was scared, but I just, kind of felt the fear and did it anyway. And here we are.
That is awesome. Now, do you take your classes in a foreign language or in English?
It's in English. So yeah, they have a lot of English speaking master's programs here. I guess it's the best way for them to kind of market themselves as student tourism wise, because there's not that much of a German speaking population globally. So
wow.
To do a lot. There are quite a few English programs here. So I would suggest to young people to check out Austria and Germany for the affordable tuition.
Well, I think you're a superstar personally. You're a bad young lady. That's all I can say. That is fabulous.
Thank you so much. So continuing with the questions, you spoke a lot about the business side of music. I wanted to know if there is a conflict for you between your creative side and your more entrepreneurial side, and how do you balance those?
Well, I wouldn't say there's a conflict. I think they work hand in hand. And I think it's very important to know both sides. If you're just a creative artist, you know how to play your instrument or how to sing or how to act or whatever, but you don't know how to obtain jobs. How are you ever going to do your craft? So I didn't really have any lessons, or I didn't have any courses when I was at Howard University. This was prior to them having a music business course, which they have now, but at the time they didn't. It was by hook or crook that I had to just try things and see if it was going to work, if it would get me more opportunities to perform. So there were times when I did have to work for record companies. I did have to do other entrepreneurial things in order to afford an apartment, pay my rent, this is prior to me buying a home, all the Con Edison bills and all the other bills, how do you pay these bills as an artist, or are you going to do your art on the side? And after I left working for record companies, I had to really figure out, how am I going to support myself totally with music? So you just have to keep trying things. If something doesn't work, either stay with it or try something else and come back to whatever it is that, you're doing. Eventually, if you're serious about what you're doing and you tell yourself, I'm not going to stop regardless of what, you will succeed and you will figure it out. And you personally, if you're smart enough to get yourself to Vienna and live and get along with other people from nationalities from all over the world and do what you're doing, you've got what it takes. You really do. So I would put, if you were a racehorse, I'd put my money on you.
Thank you. Another question that I had for you.
Wait, I really didn't answer that totally. You said, how do you make that transition between the business and the
how do you balance them out?
Right. And I can use my personal day as an example of that. As I said, I'm in my office from about 10 o'clock in the morning till about either 5 or 6, depending upon how much business I have to do on a particular day. At the end of that business day, I will do meditation for like 10 to 15 minutes just to clear my head of the business thoughts. And it's not to say the business thoughts don't come. Sometimes I have some of my most creative promotional ideas of what to do for my business while I'm trying to meditate. And I won't fight it. I'll have a pen. I always have a pen and a piece of paper, like what I have right now. If I have a thought, I'm going to write it down because you don't want to miss that. So during the meditation, something comes into my mind, I'll write it. But what I'm trying to do is clear out that business head. I had said during my presentation that after I finish doing my business, I usually go and I prep my dinner. So I might be cutting up vegetables. I might be chopping up onions and garlic. I might be putting that aside. I might be filleting a fish or chopping up chicken and putting that on the side or putting that in the refrigerator, making a salad, and that doing something totally different from music or business or any of that, which is cooking for me, finding something else. That might be the perfect time to go out and run. If you're a runner, run for a half hour, walk for a half hour, do something else. If you're lucky enough to have a deck in your home or an outside area, go sit outside, read something, or just if you're lucky enough to have the sun, sit out in the sun and just change those brain waves. Do something to physically and mentally make your separation between your business and your creative. Because I tried to, sometimes I'm so intense, I'll like go from my business day, or, when I was first starting out, I'd go right into practicing. Okay, now I got to practice. And while I'm practicing, I'm thinking a million things about my business. Oh, wait a minute. Why didn't I call Mrs. So-and-so? Oh gosh, why didn't I do this promotion? And I'm writing this stuff down. And I said, wait a minute, I'm doing more business here than I am practicing my flute. This is crazy. And then I realized exactly what you're saying. I've got to make this separation between being a business person and being a creative. So that's what you do. Get that separation, physical separation and the mental separation of your next step. But have something in there that's totally different from both things. Can you think of something for yourself that you could do?
I like to cook as well. I like to listen to audiobooks and podcasts while I'm cooking. So that usually is a very immersive experience, and it kind of takes me away from both, because I have school and I have work, and also trying to create a social life here for myself. So sometimes I just, put on some music. I like to go for walks as well. I'm also a yoga girl, so try to do those things. And yeah, But very insightful answer. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I have one last question for you. It's in relation to mental health, which you mentioned a little bit in your presentation. As creatives, sometimes our work is very much dependent on having good mental health or being mentally healthy. So say, for example, if you had a job where, it was more physically demanding in terms of like physical labor, where you don't need to use your mind as much. Even if you're depressed, you can still go out there, go to work, do what you need to do. But as creatives, for me, I'm a writer, and the winter is happening now, and I'm from Jamaica, so I'm not used to this at all, and I'm feeling the seasonal depression coming in, but I still need to work, and my work is creative. But it's hard to be creative when you're in that kind of down mindset.
Mhm.
So how do you deal with that?
I put my sports in there and let my sports sort of change my mood. Like I have the same thing. I live in Connecticut now. Connecticut is a very cold place during the winter. It can be snowy, it can be damp, it can be cold. And as a Black person, I love heat and I love sunshine and warm temperature. And that's why I go to Barbados or other islands, because it just buoys me up. And when I see the ocean, I feel good. So in my situation, I've learned how to ski. And you being in Austria, I mean, you're in a country, not necessarily in Vienna, but you're a short bus ride away. And I know it's expensive and whatnot, but because I remember when I was in Kitzbühel, I took a bus into Vienna to see, I think it was Mozart's home. And I went and I ate some, it was like a puffy kind of, what like a souffle at a restaurant. And I walked around and I met some other Black women, which was like a shock to me. And we hung out during the day together. So maybe you can do the opposite. You can take a bus up to a ski area like Kitzbühel is just beautiful, totally blow your mind, do something totally different, take a ski lesson, put some money aside for you to have that experience. Maybe downhill skiing is not for you. Maybe it scares you, but if you take a lesson, they'll put you on what they call the bunny hill, and you're going to meet people too from all over the world. It's going to put you in contact with people and get you out of your head. You can also try cross-country skiing, which I also do. And this puts you in the middle of nature. It totally gets you away from the business and the music thing. And it's exhilarating because when you're working out, especially on cross-country skiing, girl, it tires you out and you are exhausted. But when you look around and you see the beauty of the mountains and the trees and the white snow, and it just brings me happiness. It really does. So you being in that environment, if you don't already ski, I would just say, go take a ski lesson or two.
It's on the bucket list for sure. I can't be here and not do that. So it's definitely on the list. But what about the day to day? Like, you just wake up today and you need to compose a song, or you need to write something or submit something for a client or whatever it is. You have a deliverable and it's just not coming, because sometimes with creativity, it's either there or it's not. And if it's not, what do you do? How can you make it come?
See, I don't make anything come. That's not how I write. I write when I'm in the middle of working out or skiing or scuba diving. I mean, especially when I ski, I mean, I'm just looking at the mountains, I'm looking out at God's work, and I'm just awed by what I'm seeing. And then all of a sudden, this melody comes in my head. Now say, wait a minute, what is that? And then I'll take out my phone and I'll record it. And that's all that I'm getting, right? So I started formulating that song. I don't have that song. Now the work begins when I get home and I'm hearing I'm playing it back because by now I've forgotten all about it. I've been on a plane, I've gotten home, I'm unpacking, I'm doing all this stuff. The song is way out of my head, but if I play it on my phone or recording, I used to use a little recording device, and I'm hearing that, what I had to do was turn off all sounds in my house, TV, radio, nothing, and just walk around. I might do something mindless like sweeping the floor or mopping the floor or whatever. And I'm just using that melody. And I'm just letting God bring the rest of it to me. What comes after that? And I'm not forcing it. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Oh, I've got another part of that song. I'll go and write that down or sing that into it. And then what? So that's how I write. If someone told me, sit down and write this song, I'm going to be, what? I have no clue how to do that. Or if I'm scuba diving and I'm looking at these beautiful coral pieces, I'm looking at fish, I'm looking at nature. And then when I come up, I've got this song in my head and it's like, oh God, I got to keep singing this song because I'm going to lose it otherwise. I keep repeating the song in my head. And when I get up, I try to sing it into something. I've done that on buses. And you might think this person's looking at me like I'm crazy. What do you care? You're writing a song or the beginning of a song. So don't force it. I mean, just if you're taking a walk or you're in nature or wherever you are, let it come to you. Don't feel like, oh, I'm going to sit down. I got to write this song. It's like getting writer's block. You know, you may have some incredible thought about a piece that you want to write or a poem or whatever it is, a novel, the beginning of a novel or a plot. Wherever you get that, you should always have this with you, something to write it down, and don't let it go. Even if it seems like stupid, it's, obscure, it's not important, write it down because
it could turn into something later on.
Exactly. And I think that's your answer. Don't sit down and put that pressure on yourself. Oh God, I gotta write. I don't do that.
Thank you so much for that. Caleb, I saw that you had your hand raised. Did you have a question or comment? You're still muted. Not hearing you, Caleb.
Hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Where are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, but
okay. Hi, Sherry. I really appreciate your time. The time you spent with us.
Caleb, where are you located?
Okay. I have a couple of questions for you. Okay, and I'll just be brief with them. First off, when you were talking about you getting rejection from people and the companies you wrote to and how you got rejected, like how you got your letters were rejected, and you said something, and I want to quickly add something to it. Okay, let's take for instance someone who who not just got rejected, but also have their idea passed on to someone, and at the end of it all, maybe you have something you developed, and they just told you, we don't think we can accept this, and they have to pass it to someone, and that person developed that idea, and it became something great, something big. Now, let me ask, how do you handle such? Like, how do you get to bounce back from such? Because I'm talking from personal experience where my project is being passed to, I developed an idea anyways, and it was passed on to someone, and when I found out, I was broken, but at the end of it all, I just had to bounce back and do something better.
Well, I know what you're saying. Can you hear me, Khalid? Can you hear what I'm saying?
Oh, Sherry, now you're muted.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Can you hear me, Khalid? Okay. Where are you located?
I'm in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria.
Oh, Nigeria. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. The first thing you have to do with a creative idea in the United States, I can't say for Nigeria because I don't know your law there, but we have to register our works with the Library of Congress. And in my case, you send in a recording of it. You also send the physical music, piece of music with the words, if you have words for the music. When you send it into the Library of Congress, it's recorded as you are the owner of this copyright. You have to get a copyright. Once you have that copyright, if someone steals your work, which it sounds like this is what happened to you, your work was passed on to someone else and someone else was able to make something out of it that was positive and maybe lucrative. If you have that Library of Congress certificate saying that your work is copywritten, you can take that person to court and sue them monetarily. And this has happened to big artists in the United States. People, like I think now Taylor Swift is being sued by someone. The Isley Brothers, the famous rock and roll group, was sued by someone who claims that they heard, the Isley Brothers heard their work, stole a segment of it, and then the court has to decide whether indeed you had the copyright, you were the owner, and this person went ahead and recorded it. So you would have to check with Nigerian law. I don't know internationally, I can't speak internationally, but you can Google the Library of Congress, because I have a feeling that you could copyright your work with the Library of Congress in the United States in Washington, D.C. That's where the office is. Have you heard of that, the Library of Congress? Can you hear me, Khalid?
Sorry about that, Mr. Lam, you're on mute.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. I think this is my first time of hearing about the Library of Congress. So I think I'm gonna look it up after this meeting.
Okay, and then see if there's something equivalent in Nigeria. If not, you might have to go through that, through the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Okay. I still have another question for you.
Sure.
Okay, so how hard do you practice? Like,
Say that again. Say that again.
How hard do you practice?
I practice pretty much every day. It could be an hour if I've got an important engagement coming up. I might practice more than that, an hour and a half. And because I've been doing this so long, and I've been practicing and playing since I'm 11 years old, so needless to say, it's a lot of years, I might have to practice less than someone that's just learning their craft. So I think that's an individual thing. But whether it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, a half hour, hour, something that you can put your full attention into and not be thinking about other stuff or running to the refrigerator to get a bite to eat while you're supposed to be practicing. I mean, whatever segment of time you select for yourself to really spend that time creatively and doing what you're supposed to do. I don't think it matters. Now, you can't play 5 minutes and just say, oh, well, that's it. Because like in my practice, I'll take scales, I'll take studies that I learned at Howard University, or even before that, when I was taking private music lessons from the masters or from books that develop flute technique. I'll make sure that my embouchure is correct, that my sound sounds good. So what instrument do you play, or do you sing, or what do you do? Do you write? I can't hear you.
The admin is putting me on mute. Okay, if you can hear me, I'm a sculptor and a painter. I'm a fine artist.
Oh, wow. Okay. So how much do you paint every day? Do you sculpt every day? How often do you sculpt in a week?
For sculpting, I don't sculpt as often as I paint. I do most of my jobs like I paint more often than I actually sculpt because it gives me time to do what I want to do. If I should go into sculpting, I spend weeks sculpting. But sculpting is something you don't just start doing it because you need to get the result. You do it because you have that passion. There's something in you that is driving you to do it. Or if it's for painting, I can paint as much as I want because it gives me free time. I can paint anywhere I choose to, bedroom, outdoor, anywhere you feel like, anywhere I feel I can do something productive. But as for my sculpted works actually take time, so that's why I don't dive into sculpting that much. But sculpture is my major. Painting.
Mhm.
So much love sculpture, painting. But I do both sometimes. But the major thing that I do most times is painting. I'm doing something for the creatives everywhere. Mr. Langley is the forerunner of the whole thing. He knows about it. There's this painting that I do for creatives everywhere, and I think he likes it, so he should be able to tell.
Okay, well, you're in a totally different medium than I'm in, obviously.
Yes. Yeah.
And I understand that you want to have that passion and that feeling before you can start to sculpt. I think that you could say that about writing, as the young lady was saying that's now in Vienna, you know, that you could wait for that inspiration, but sometimes you've got to just sit down to do the thing that you're supposed to be doing or the thing that you're supposed to be loving and hope that the inspiration will come to you. If not, maybe there's just some technique that you can practice. You know, it wouldn't have to be on a special canvas. Maybe it's just on a piece of paper that you want to, you know, try to draw somebody or something or a representative painting of something. And it helps to build your confidence as a person that can replicate what they see. Now, I don't know if you're an impressionistic kind of sculptor, or do you do heads or busts or bodies of people? What is the body of your work? What does your work look like?
Yeah, I'm a realist painter and sculptor. So sometimes when it comes to sculpting, I do there's something we call stylized sculpting. Stylized sculpting is more of it's a mixture of both realism and abstract. Okay, and when we bring up something like that, it's not everybody that actually does realism because realism is something so deep. It's it takes you away from being yourself to be able to produce something of a stylized project. So I'm a realist, but most times I just do stylized jobs for for my audience to have something to say, and also when I explain my work to them, they'll be like, okay, I never knew this was what you're talking about because when you see a realistic painting or realistic project, you're able to tell, okay, this is what this is the message the person is trying to pass. But once I do something stylized, I should produce stylized work. People who want to have interest in my work. They want to say, okay, I think you should be able to tell us what you are trying to do or what message you're trying to pass. And as for you said something about how I can just come up with something and draw something or create something on my sketch pad. I do have a sketch pad where I sometimes pass while away time when I'm doing anything. I have sketch pad and it's helped me a lot. But that is not actually the
Helene,
big deal. The big
you're getting a lot of background noise. I'm not sure where you are exactly, but it's just a little distracting. It's like children or something. Are there a lot of children around you?
That's the TV. I'm sorry about that. That's the TV.
Oh, can you turn that TV off, please?
Give me a moment, please.
In the meantime, I'll just make a comment on what Caleb mentioned just now. I actually practiced as a lawyer in Jamaica before I moved here, and I did a little bit of intellectual property work, and I understand the struggle that creatives have, because sometimes we're not, business minded in that sense, or we are very trusting of the people that we're working with, and we don't remember to protect ourselves and protect our work. Miley Cyrus actually got sued for $300 million recently by a Jamaican artist, just for one line in a song. In her We Can't Stop song, she had a line where she said, "We run things, things don't run we," which is a line from a Jamaican song. And, white people, they steal a lot from us, including our intellectual property. So, as Black creatives, we really need to make the extra effort to look into the legal stuff, to be creative, but of course the business side of things, protecting our intellectual property is extremely important.
Francine, I'm going to put something in the chat. I'm going to put my email address.
Sure.
I would really, really, really like you to be in touch with me. I would like us to keep in touch, seriously.
Well, thank you.
You are something else. You're an attorney. I mean, every time you open your mouth, you are blowing me away, for real. And if there's anything I can do to help you in terms of just being another sister friend on this side of the globe, you can bounce stuff off me. We can be in touch. I don't know if you have WhatsApp, but I do have WhatsApp. And we'll have to connect on WhatsApp, and I want you to keep in touch with me, okay? I'm putting my email address right now.
Very flattered.
Well, I'm knocked out, and I'm not just saying this. And for anyone else who is on the call, if you would like to be in touch, you are more than welcome to do that. But Francine, you are like knocking me out, girl. Francine Derby. All right, I'm writing this down.
Okay, I'm coming into the space. I wanted to wait for this, but I think I can do some editing and make it shorter. I want to introduce you to my team. They are all extremely talented, and I'd like you to meet them. So if people can start to show themselves, and you met Francine, you've met Mr. Caleb. This is we call her Chep. Chep.
Hi, Sherry.
Hi, Chep. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Loved your presentation. Love everything about you.
Oh, you're a sweetheart. Thank you.
Yeah.
Tell her about yourself.
Yeah. So I'm okay. I'm a virtual assistant. I've been working with Baba J for I think 4 months now. I'm from Kenya. I just completed my school this year, and yeah, looking forward to my graduation. And so far it's been a great year, and I'm glad that I met Baba J. I'm glad I'm part of the company, and I've learned a lot for the past few months, and hopeful that this coming year is going to be even greater, even better. And it's really nice meeting you.
Well, it's nice after we have been in touch really for months. It's so good to see a physical face and hear a voice. So I'm quite thrilled with this.
Yeah, I'm happy too. I'm very happy that this happened finally. Yeah, that's me.
You have any questions?
I don't at the moment. No, I think everything has been covered, and you're amazing. Just want to say that.
Well, thank you. And if you think of anything, you have my email address. So please feel free to use it.
And how about Melanie? Melanie.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I'm having some internet interruptions.
All right, introduce yourself.
Oh, well, I am Melanie. I am living in Venezuela. I am studying architecture, so I consider myself as a very creative person. I really enjoy your words. I really like the part where you were saying that for the creative part, you have to take away your working part. You have to separate them. I think that is something I need to do. And I have been learning how to manage my artistic life and my personal life. So I really like your words.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate hearing that. And if you can think of anything that you'd like to ask me directly, I'm totally open to hear it. And furthermore, what is your creative side? What do you do?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. What do you do creatively? What is your artistic endeavor?
Well, I design buildings.
Are you an
And
architect?
yes, I am studying.
Wow, awesome.
Yes. So it has been a little bit difficult because you need a lot of creative. So you have to be clear of what you want and what you want to create. So I think that is the hard part of studying architecture.
Okay.
Yes.
Baba, this is very impressive. Everyone that is on this call is amazing. Just
Oh,
amazing.
you could see me. I'm flushing here. Yeah, they're a very talented group, and I'm very blessed to have, as I said to Francine earlier in a What's Up deck, is that it's a blessing to have cross paths with these people, and they make it a lot easier to. I mean, part of our goal is to work to support and to amplify the work of creatives of color. That's our aim. And we, as you can see, are a reflection of that. You know, just look around at the different hues and the different locations and the diversity. And we are so pleased that that we had an opportunity. This has turned out much more than just a a creative speak. It sounds to me like there's some there's quite a bit of wisdom and some therapy.
It's like a mentorship session.
Yeah. So
Well, I am just thrilled that you thought to invite me to speak today and to interface with everyone. It turned out to be much more than I could have imagined. And it's been my pleasure and honor to meet all of you and to interface with you. And I hope that this is not the last time we do this. This is really quite exceptional. Regardless of, you know, the problems that we had trying to get on. And the main thing is that we did get on and that we did have this time to speak together. So, Baba, I don't know if you want to wrap this up. If you want to try to get any other additional questions, I'll be happy to stay a few more minutes if anyone has any more specific questions. And Chep, you haven't told us what you do creatively.
So I'm not a creative, I should say, not professionally or anything, but I mean, something that I do out of work is maybe journaling and Zumba. That is maybe what I can say on the creative side is what I do, but professionally, I'm not in the creative space. Yeah.
Well, I disagree with you.
I do too. I do
Because
too.
being a good business person
True.
takes creativity, and it
Okay.
takes thinking out of the box to put people together and to inspire people to join and to be a part of this creative community. So don't say you're not a creative. You just create differently than we do, but it's tangible. It's very tangible.
Mhm.
And you
Okay.
convincing me along with Baba to do this and to keep drawing me in, send me a photo, send me this. And then I think, oh, maybe I should send you some music and a little bit of video. And, so you're drawing stuff maybe out of me. Maybe I was reluctant to, invest in this time-wise. I'm actually at my brother's house now. And, this is part of like a little holiday for me during the Christmas, New Year's holiday. So, I was thinking, oh, well, maybe I'm in Washington, D.C. Maybe I'd like to go to some of the museums, which when I get off the call, I'm going to do that. I want to go and look at some of the sea life at the Museum of Natural History here. All the museums are free in Washington, which is just amazing. So I want to take advantage of that. And Baba, I know you know this. So
Oh, yeah, that's DMZ. That's, well, District of Columbia, Maryland and Virginia, there's all kinds of stuff here. I do want to ask a question somewhat selfishly for at least two of the of my folks. One is the importance of social, well, some people call it social documentation, but writing things down. My question to you is that, are you writing a book? Have you thought about writing a book? And in doing that, what is your strategy for documenting, writing things down, journaling, keeping memories alive, that type of thing?
now, was that a question for everybody? Who are you?
It's for you.
Oh, for me.
The answer's for everybody.
Well, my answer is that I've already done a book. It's called For Lovers Only, a Cookbook and More. It's got my romantic CD in it with the same title, For Lovers Only. So it's sort of a combination book. It's an advice to lovers. It's also, it doesn't have to be for lovers. It can be, you might want to invite some girlfriends or some male friends over and have some food for them, and you don't know quite what to make. So you can select things from the cookbook that are easy. Some of them are just putting things together. It's not even cooking. It's making something beautiful. Whether it's a salad, it's washing the leaves, deciding what's going to be in the salad, putting it so that it's visually beautiful, that people want to eat it. It's not even cooking.
What was your approach putting that together? How did you?
My approach was, let me find an agent. Let me have someone publish this for me. Let me put my thoughts down, creative. And none of that happened. I worked for years trying to get an agent to represent me to a publishing house. I went to publishing houses directly. None of that worked. And it's going back to the rejection. Everybody said, who the heck are you to be cooking for anybody? What credentials do you have as a chef?
Mm.
And I said, my credentials is being creative, thinking out of the box, doing something different. No, do you have a cooking show on TV? Have you worked in a restaurant? What famous chef have you worked for? I couldn't answer those questions. And then, you know what? They discouraged me so much. I had put so much time into this book of just writing stuff down, recipes, but also advice to lovers, advice to friends who might want to have somebody over and they don't know if this person is interested in them or not. All of these thoughts that I had about entertaining everybody. What if you're newly divorced? What if you just broke up with somebody? How do you extend yourself to somebody. I'm writing all of these thoughts down and putting it together. And I thought this might help somebody. You know, this is coming from life. It's coming from a Black woman's life. Maybe this is worth something. Nobody thought it was worth anything, right? And finally I said, you know what, the heck with these people. I just put the manuscript down. And one day I'm sitting at my desk. The book had been there maybe 4 years. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm talking about a period of maybe 19 years, almost 20 years from the inception of starting this project. And my eye went from my computer and my phone and calling people to this pile of books that was this big, this manuscript. And I said, what are you doing? You up some nights till 3 o'clock in the morning writing this thing. You're just going to let it sit there? This is worth something. And I said, you know what? I'm going to save my money. I'm going to do it myself. Let me see the best Black team that I can put together. I wanted Black people to get something out of this project. So I hired a designer, a photographer that I actually went to school with. I had to find a publisher that could finally publish this work, or I should say a printer that could do all of that, put all of that together, all of these pieces. I found an editor from Essence Magazine, a Black woman's magazine, a woman that had retired from there. I put this whole team together and I told everybody, I'm not asking for a discount. Tell me what your fee is. I'm a jazz musician. I'm paying you out of money that I make from performing. You may not get your money next week. You might not get it next month. You will get every penny that you deserve, that you have billed me for, but it might not be on your time. So we all had that understanding, started the work. I sent it to the designer. She started laying the book out. My photographer came over to my house. I started making dishes. He was taking photos of the dishes. My designer got other photos of pictures that represented my work. It was not things that I had personally cooked, but it might be a picture of muffins or whatever that happened to be in the book. Put all of this together. The editor went over everything. This went on for years, right? Maybe a couple of years of putting all of these pieces together. And then after all of that, I had my brother, who's got a PhD in history and had been an editor for big publications. I had him go over it also. So all of these hands, all of these Black hands were in this work. And when I finally sent it to a printer, selected a printer in Massachusetts in the United States, they told me the fee that it would cost me per book. I saved the money to get all of this together. I bought, I think, 100 books to start out with. I got the CD from a manufacturer of my music, all love songs. We had the whole package put together. When that first shipment was delivered to me, I sat on the floor of my garage and I cried. And I looked at this work and it was so beautiful. I just couldn't believe it. And it was like, I didn't give up. I didn't take no for an answer. I knew that this book was me, and it's still selling. I'm not saying that it's flying off the shelves, but every time I perform, people can buy my CDs, they can buy my book. So that is my answer, that anything that you want to do can be done. You just have to believe in yourself. You've got to put the time in, and a lot of times you've got to put your own money into it. Put your money where your mouth is. If you say you want to do something, do it. It may not happen in 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 19 years. And I wish I had sent you a photo of what the book looks like, because you could show it now, but I didn't think about doing that. I'm sorry. But you all can go online to sherrywinston.com and you can pull up what the cookbook looks like. And maybe it'll inspire you to do something that seems like it's obscure. I'm never going to do this. This is never going to work. And I hope it does inspire somebody.
Well, I do. If you go to your Eventbrite, is that we put a copy of it there. So if you still have that registration form, is that you can go there. And we actually put the book there. So, well, not, I mean, image of the book there.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, and did you study culinary at Howard?
No, I didn't. I studied music.
Oh, okay. No, I know you had some culinary, you had some culinary training though, right?
Zero. My culinary experience and beginnings was my mother calling me from work as an 8-year-old and saying, Sherry, put on the potatoes for dinner. And I said, Mom, I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, go get a potato. Okay, get a peeler. Okay, now you're going to peel a potato. This is how you do it. And she explained it over the phone. So peel all those potatoes, wash them off. And then I want you to cut each potato in 4 pieces and put it in a pot, bring it to a boil. Don't let it get too mushy. Do this, do that. And she would come home and I'd have the potatoes cooked. And the next day she'd say, okay, Sherry, take out the pork chops. This is what I want you to do to them. Okay, you're going to season them. What does that mean, Mom? Okay, that was my culinary experience, helping my mom out. And then just loving the creative side of cooking. I'm sort of self-taught, honestly.
Yeah.
So was Rachel Ray. If you all watch Home and Garden TV and the Food Network, there are a lot of chefs out there that are not trained, that can do what they do. There are musicians that pick up an instrument. I worked with a guy, Sam Johnson, a keyboard player. He never had a lesson in his life. He started out in his mother's church where his mother said, Sam, come up and play organ for the people. And he started crying. He says, Mom, I don't know how to play organ. And she said, yes, you do. And he says, no, I don't. He never had an organ lesson. He went up and God touched him. He started playing the organ. So, I mean, these things happen. You may have some interesting creative sides to you that you haven't explored that's there. So open yourself up. You're not just a writer. You're not just a musician. You're not just a business person, Chep. You're a lot of things. Open yourself up. Baba, look at what you've done. Look at this creative vision that you have. Now you just have to open it up and figure out how to bring more people into this. So that's your creative challenge.
Well, we want to say thank you in as many languages as we could possibly speak. And, as I knew the first time I met you, is that I witnessed your humanity and your grace. And throughout all these years, you've always been a person of respect.
Thank you.
Sherry
Thank
Winston.
you all. Happy New Year. And thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.